Charles Dickens. In this extract, Mr. Bumble, the self-important parish beadle, visits Mrs. Corney, the widowed matron of the workhouse. As their increasingly flirtatious encounter progresses, Mr. Bumble gets a little carried away. Whatever were Mr. Bumble's intentions, however, and no doubt they were of the best, it unfortunately happened, as had been twice before remarked, that the table was a round one. Consequently, Mr. Bumble, moving his chair by little and little, soon began to diminish the distance between himself and the matron, and continuing to travel round the outer edge of the circle, brought his chair in time close to that in which the matron was seated. Indeed, the two chairs touched, and when they did so, Mr. Bumble stopped. Now, if the matron had moved her chair to the right, she would have been scorched by the fire, and if to the left, she must have fallen into Mr. Bumble's arms. So, being a discreet matron, and no doubt foreseeing these consequences at a glance, she remained where she was, and handed Mr. Bumble another cup of tea.
"Hard-hearted Mrs. Corney,"
said Mr. Bumble, stirring his tea and looking up into the matron's face.
"Are you hard-hearted, Mrs. Corney?"
"Dear me!" exclaimed the matron. "What a very curious question from a single man. What can you want to know for, Mr. Bumble?" The beadle drank his tea to the last drop, finished a piece of toast, whisked the crumbs off his knees, wiped his lips, and deliberately kissed the matron. "Mr. Bumble!" cried that discreet lady in a whisper, for the fright was so great that she had quite lost her voice. "Mr. Bumble, I shall scream!" Mr. Bumble made no reply, but in a slow and dignified manner put his arm around the matron's waist.